We're just getting started here, folks. Welcome to Curious Formula Live. I am your moderator and your host, Curious Formula. We're just getting our stuff together here, so stay tuned. Got 2 minutes till we start. Come on in. There's something in the fridge for you to eat and drink. Put your feet up because we're going to have fun this hour. Welcome to the Curious Formula Experience. Curious Formula Live. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and comment below. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We go live every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be there, be square. All right, my friends, welcome, 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 welcome. We appreciate you being here. As I said at the outset, I am Curious Formula, your host. Thank you for joining me today, your host and your moderator for this 1 hour experience of Curious Formula Live. If you haven't done so, please make sure you subscribe and like. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We go live every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You got to be there, be square, to hear all the great news and events, controversies, issues that are happening in our world, and come here to make sense of some of them anyway. So, 3 topics tonight, because I know you're all waiting to know. Who do we pick? Who am I picking to win the presidency in November of 2024? We're less than 40 some odd days away from electing the next president of these United States in the general election, and that is 2024. And it has been a dogfight. It has been anything but fun for many. It has been an odd year, a year of just things that we did not expect. If anybody would have told you that we would have been here with another nominee at the top of the Democratic ticket some 100 odd days out from the general election, you would have said I was crazy. You would have said I was dumb. You would have said I was smoking something, imbibing something, eating something, not imbibing something, not eating something. Whatever would have made me say that, you would have said I was stark lunatic, mad, crazy. But here we are, less than 40 some odd days left, and we're going to be the first pundit that you know that's going to be definitive and saying out loud who I think and who I know will be elected the 47th president of these United States of America. But before we do that, we're going to do something here and answer a question that people have been asking me since I started doing this. Well, who the hell is Curious Formula? And why are you equipped? Why are you educated? Why should we pay attention to anything you have to say about politics or social issues or other things that you do comment on? Well, I'm going to give you a little background about that now. Hey, Black Uhuru is here. He remembers that event. So our first topic is going to be yours truly. It's going to be me. Tell you a little bit about me, where I come from, and what I do, and what I've done, and what qualifies me to be a voice on this here platform to talk to you about anything. So without further ado, take a listen and learn.
The Honorable Ronald C. Rice.
Good afternoon. Today is a day of thanks, appreciation, and gratitude. So before I thank anyone else, I want to thank God Almighty, who thought it not robbery to look upon someone like myself,
a third-generation Newarker, born in the South Ward but made a man in the West Ward of the city of Newark, and fashioned out of his great crucible somebody he did not think was unworthy to try to lead other folks in his community. I also want to thank the great and conscientious voters of the West Ward of the city of Newark for your support, for your prayers, and for joining this movement of remaking the West Ward into our motto of one ward, one family. I want to thank you for supporting me with over 78% of your votes and honoring my candidacy with majorities in each and every district of the ward. It
Hey,
meant the
Tranquil
world to
Smoker,
me
thanks
to
for
win
being
in
here,
every
man.
district. Thank you so much for your love and your support and for backing what we're trying to get done for each and every one in our ward. To my council staff, Annette, James, Spencer, Tyrone, Chris, thank you all so much for working 7 days a week besides your councilman and your boss to deliver services to our residents. To my campaign staff, to my father, Senator Rice, and this is the second time a governor has taken my daddy away from my inauguration, but I can't get too mad because one was a Democrat and one was a Republican. But to my father, who is going to go down to Trenton right now and vote, to my mother who could not be here, to family members, Mayor Booker, my colleagues here now and formerly, my church family, the St. James family that continues to love me despite my delinquencies, I say thank you for all that you do and continue to do, not only on my behalf, and I love you all for what you do in your various walks of life as we make Newark better.
So that's who I started out as. I'm a third generation Newark, New Jersey son, native. My grandfather was a barbershop owner, small business owner in the city of Newark. He cut hair and is still well known in what we call the Black East Ward. My father is the illustrious State Senator Ronald L. Rice, the longest serving African American in the New Jersey State Legislature, having served for well over 40 years in office, recently deceased in 2022. And that's where I get my genes from, my political genes, my desire to help my community. Everything I know about being a public servant came under his tutelage and his guidance, and more importantly, his example. And so from a very young age, I was whisked around to community meetings and political meetings and council meetings, and yes, backroom meetings about politics and policy and community neighborhood development and building up and empowering people. It's what drives my life. It's what drives my advocacy. It's what drives my fervor to bring things to you, to present things in another context, in different ideas, in a different way that maybe you're used to. I attended public schools early on, Alexander Street School, Newark, New Jersey, where we were bused because of too many kids and rundown schools that were constantly falling apart. I was literally bused from second grade, third grade, fourth grade, all around the city of Newark because we had overcrowded situations and we had elected officials who did nothing about it. It's kind of how my dad got his start in politics, was fighting for kids like myself to have decent schools and to be able to go to schools in their neighborhoods and attend and to have good quality education. I was in the Cub Scouts as a young man. I rode my bicycle all around Vailsburg, section of the West Ward of the city of Newark. I can remember a time when black kids in my ward couldn't ride their bikes up to Ivy Hill section because it was mostly Italian and mostly Irish, and they didn't want black kids riding their bikes. So I can remember moving around, and this is talking the late 70s here, people throwing rocks at you because you were in the wrong neighborhood. And I watched my dad take his first steps in politics, winning the West Ward Council seat, a seat and becoming the first African American to hold that seat, and watched him become the state senator, first African American to be a state senator from his district. And at every place, I learned how to run campaigns. I ran campaigns in the district when he ran for district leader. I ran campaigns at the age of 12 and 13 making sure all the people got paid and making sure people got their lunches and making sure people had literature, making sure that I was the guy on the microphone when we did bullhorns on top of cars to go around the city to campaign. And yeah, I worked on campaigns for a long time, became the youngest ever and the first African American myself to be the president of the Essex County Young Democrats in the state of New Jersey. First time that had ever been done. We were instrumental in having a membership of 500. Our county Young Democrats was actually larger than the state of New Jersey's college Democrats and Young Democrats at that time. So from there, I decided to, I'm jumping ahead of myself, went to Alexander Street School. Then I decided and was accepted to go and get into something called the Gifted and Talented Program, which was a magnet program at that time in the city of Newark, housed at Louise A. Spencer School. And the reason why I went there was because after testing very high in the 4th grade, my teacher at Alexander Street School literally told me there's nothing this school can do for him. He's got to get out if he's going to stretch his intellectual muscles, if you will. Do you know anybody who can help him get into a Gifted and Talented program in Louise A. Spencer? And I ran into that person who was the superintendent of Newark Public Schools at that time, Carl Sharif. I had an interview with him, and he said, I'm going to get you into that program. Not knowing at that young age that he would be an important part and campaign manager for future campaigns that I myself would be parts of and the lead of. So I got the Gifted and Talented program and did very well there. Had great teachers. Teachers can change a kid's life. I was prepared by a woman named Sadie Bonner, who was my resource room teacher, who always taught me you can do anything you want to do, and don't let those white kids in the suburbs tell you that you can't. I'm preparing you to go to do battle with them intellectually and in your schools. Everybody needs a Miss Bonner in their life, and I was proud to have her because she got me ready for a cold world out there who doubted that a young black kid from Newark could learn or that he could be their intellectual equal on par with them in every single manner when it comes to studies and academia. And so after that, I got tested into a private school. So I had a public and private school education. I attended and graduated from the Pingree School, and at that time in Martinsville, New Jersey. I was the only African-American male in my graduating class, but I never felt like I was out of place. I graduated from that school after starting something called the Awareness Society, which was trying to show kids at that particular school how other people lived that didn't have the means that they had. Because even though I was going to a very well-off country day private school, I returned every single night to the city of Newark, city of my birth. And so I saw the two worlds, the two societies that America doesn't want to know each other. At my 16th Sweet 16 party, I know, guys aren't supposed to have a Sweet 16 party, but I had one. I had some of the richest kids in the state of New Jersey with some of the poorest kids coming out of the city of Newark, dancing together, partying together, having only one thing in common, knowing me. And so I got Van Halen records. At the same time, I got Run DMC and Houdini records at my party for presents. But that's been part of my life too, is walking between two worlds and understanding the sides in each community and the points they have to that influence their thinking every single day, whether I agree with it or not. I saw both sides of the coin, and it's made me the man that I am today. So after doing that, after graduating from Pingree with honors, no less, I attended American University in Washington, D.C., where I majored in, guess what? Political science, public administration. Worked on Capitol Hill. Yes, was the first intern to work for Students for Jesse Jackson in 1988, where I happened to also pledge the greatest fraternity on God's earth, the great Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity incorporated. Shout out to the good brothers who are doing the good work of uplift, onward and upward towards the light. Oh, wow. Somebody said that Mayor Adams just got indicted. I'm going to talk about that at the end of this broadcast, so hold tight on that. Then I got to American University. I worked on the Hill, as I mentioned. I worked on Jesse Jackson's campaign, groundbreaking campaign in '88, pledged a great fraternity, became an RA, a resident advisor on my campus, was the political director, obviously, right, of our Black Student Alliance on campus, was able to march with and stand with the students at Howard University as they protested Lee Atwater being added to the Board of Trustees, along with my good friend, for many years and eventual colleague and eventual mayor of the city of Newark, Ras Baraka. And I love D.C. I love what I learned here. But I was also in the city when Mayor Marion Barry was indicted and caught smoking crack in a hotel room with somebody that was not his wife. So again, seeing the best of elected politics and seeing the worst of it in the same year. Then I decided to go to law school. Went to law school, Seton Hall University, School of Law, downtown Newark, New Jersey. I returned home, worked full-time and went to school part-time. Some of you know that journey because I couldn't afford to do it. That's where I had great roommates like my good friend Black Uhuru, who's on this chat right now, and living the life that somebody who was determined to be successful but knew he had to work. Didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. Had to work in order to pay for my law school education. Took 4 years, graduated. But I left after I graduated from law school. I decided I had to help my dad run for mayor of Newark. And so I became his West Ward coordinator when he ran for Newark in 1998 against the machine politicians of that time. And without any pay, I left the job in order to run that campaign. And when he ran and he lost. So I was unemployed for 2 years. Happy to have sacrificed my own economic well-being and my own job security to support my dad and what he was doing in terms of running for office. So then started working for the Department of Education after interning with the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, and then after actually interning and being a law clerk for Judge Jared Honingfeld of the Essex Vicinage Criminal Division, doing that for a year. And again, didn't have a job, but got a job in the Department of Education. And that's where my love for education and policies happened. I worked on regulations at that time. Worked on drafting regulations for the comprehensive review of code, moving Title VI to Title VI-A, still the title of the education code in the New Jersey State Department of Education. I'm proud to have overseen that in 1999. And worked on the Abbott v. Burke decision, which was a groundbreaking equalized funding decision by the New Jersey State Supreme Court that actually required the state to make up any difference between the richest school districts per pupil and what they call the 31 special need districts. I was glad to have been part of drafting the regulations for that law that has actually changed the trajectory of many people's lives in public education in the state of New Jersey. And then I got the bug myself to run. And this young, skinny guy named Cory Booker decided he was going to challenge the machine in Newark politics, something that myself and a number of other people like Ras Baraka, like Rahman Muhammad, like a number of other young elected officials or young wannabes kept banging our head against the machine that would never let us in. Here was a guy who came out of nowhere and said, listen, if you run with me, we can change the state of Newark politics, and we can bring in, usher in a new generation of politics and some new priorities for the city. And I was sold. Our first meeting with Cory Booker was over lunch, and we talked nothing but policy for 2 hours. And I was hooked at that time. Worked with him when he became council person. In fact, I was the one tallying the numbers, the first one to call him councilman-elect when he won. Worked on trying to improve and increase dollars for young people in the city of Newark at that time, and trying to make other changes that we were trying to do. Oh, we had a good time. We marched around the city. We really worked to try to improve things. But the call came in 2002 for him to either run for re-election or to run for mayor. He decided to run for mayor, and he had brought a bunch of us to run on his ticket for council. And I ran for city council, councilman at large at that time, with a number of other young, dynamic figures. And we all lost. Some of you saw the movie, the documentary called Street Fight. We all lost, but we didn't stop. We worked together to create a nonprofit. I can remember Cory Booker coming in like his rented car with no job, no money, no prospects, and him saying, we're going to work like a government in exile. We're going to create a nonprofit, Newark Now, and we're going to do things. We're going to empower neighborhoods. We're going to empower block associations. We're going to empower community organizations to start working in tandem with each other to recognize that they hold the power, not City Hall. And then when we run again in 2006, we will win, but we'll have an infrastructure to make the kind of change that we want to do. I was sold again. So 4 years later, that's exactly what we did. I was on the board, first board member on the new nonprofit Newark Now. Proud to have served and named Modia Butler as his first executive director, who will go on to be a big person in terms of the Booker campaign, the Booker orbit, and all of our orbits, politically and in government. And we ran again in 2006, and I ran for the West Ward Council seat, the seat that my father had held just 10 years earlier, and we won. We won the seat, and we did incredible things as a city council person. I passed the biggest, baddest, most comprehensive ban-the-box law in the nation at that time. We eschewed anything. I didn't drive a city car, even though I was tied to it. I didn't use city dollars for recreation programs like I could just give it to my favorite people. Never did that. Geez, I've forgotten something I didn't do. We proposed campaign finance reform, the most drastic in the state of New Jersey and the most far-reaching of anybody in the state of New Jersey. We supported LGBTQIA plus rights and marriage equality. The first city councilman in the city to do that. We supported reforming our education system through public school choice at that time. We created an apprenticeship program that mandated any project that happened in the city of Newark over $2 million had to have Newark residents as part of it. An apprenticeship program of all the unions that were part of having construction in the city of Newark. We created the LGBTQIA plus commission. We created the African Commission. We created the Environmental Commission for the city of Newark. And we were, as a sitting council person, we were the ones who actually stopped people from going to internal affairs to turn in their complaints about police brutality. And we established a system with the ACLU in the city of Newark to take those complaints. And those complaints were instrumental in making sure that the consent decree that came in from the U.S. Attorney General's office became manifest in the city of Newark. I coined the phrase Newark's original sin when talking about police brutality. And when the feds came in, they talked to two people. They talked to Lawrence Ham and they talked to me, the councilman from the West Ward, who was instrumental in trying to fight police brutality, not just from the outside, but from the inside looking out. And so we did a lot of those kind of positive things. I was the first elected official in the state of New Jersey to endorse then another skinny, light-skinned politician named Barack Obama. I was the first elected official in the state of New Jersey to endorse him for president in 2007. And it was a delegate, and proud to have been a delegate in Denver with him. Ran unsuccessfully for Congress in 2012 against my brother, the late Donald Payne Jr. It was a spirited campaign. Even though we lost, we received the new endorsement of the state's largest newspaper. We received a lot of endorsements from my colleagues in the city of Newark on the city council and from a number of elected officials and unions from across the state. We're very proud of that race. And it set me up to run for mayor in 2014. Didn't really want to do it, but people felt like there needed to be a consensus candidate. And so myself and my brother, Raz Baraka, who was also interested in running for mayor, we decided to commission a poll. And we would abide by the results of the poll. And the poll showed that I would win that election, that I would win that race. But it showed that Raz Baraka was only 4 points behind me. And the fire was in his belly. And he really wanted to do the job for the city of Newark. And he was my brother. As I was considering a race to do it for out of, obligation, he was running because he really wanted to do the job. And so I did what a lot of people don't do in politics. I put my own desires, my own ego aside, and I stepped down and endorsed my brother, who became the next mayor of the city of Newark. And if you look at where Newark is going right now, the progress that started under Sharp James and then got put on rocket fuel under Cory Booker has now hit quasar speed under Raz Baraka. And we look at what has happened in the city of Newark, and I'm proud to have been part of that. I'm proud to have been part of bringing our school district back to local control, something that we hadn't had since 1995. It was literally the last thing that happened when I left office was we got our district back. And I was very proud of that fact, that we was able to do it in 8 years when other administrations could not have done it in the 10 to 15 years before then. So then I found my bride, somebody who is now the love of my life, and I got married, and we moved from Newark down to the great state of Maryland. And since that time, I've been doing advocacy work for charter schools, working for public school choice, to give our kids options that they would not normally have. And so, yes, I'm somebody that has deep democratic feelings, and I've got some progressive things at my roots, some pragmatic progressive things at my roots, but I also have some conservative ideas. I've been a Christian since the age of 16 and saved since the age of 16. I'm somebody who has been a God-fearing, saved member of an AME church, both in New York, New Jersey, the great St. James AME Church, and before then, Allen AME Church, and now a Kingdom Fellowship AME Church right here in Maryland, where I'm glad to serve, and I'm glad to be a believer, and I'm glad to be saved, and I'm glad to preach the gospel to anybody that'll hear it. But I'm also somebody who understands what needs to happen in terms of the spiritual life of our people, which needs to happen in the political life of our people, in the educational life of our people, in the social, fraternal, community development of our people, because I've had my foot in my hand in all aspects of it. It has made me the person that I am. So when you ask me who am I to talk about any of these issues, who am I to bring you any thoughts and ideas, I'm somebody with years of experience in a lot of different fields. And more importantly, I've been successful in all those fields. All right, that's enough about me. And that's enough about who I am, what I am, and why you should listen to what I have to say. So let's talk about it. Who's going to win this election? Who's going to win this election? I know that's what you all are here for. So let us wait no longer. Who am I selecting, and who do I think is going to win this election? Let's go.
The Nostradamus of presidential predictions is out with his pick finally for who will win the White House. And he's been right 9 out of the last 10 elections. The local historian making the national news right now, Alan Lichtman, joining us live with his choice and why he made that pick. Always a pleasure to talk to you. We've been waiting for this. We're not going to wait any longer. Let us know what you decided.
You know, my prediction system is unique. And as you said, it's been essentially right for 40 years. I would say 10 of 10, but I'm not going to relitigate 2000 here. And the way it works is it taps into the structure of how elections really work as votes up or down on the strength and performance of the White House party. And if 6 or more of my 13 factors go against the White House party, they're predicted losers. Otherwise, they are predicted winners. And I finally come to my final prediction and concluded that the White House party, the Democrats, now represented by Kamala Harris, would not lose any more than 5 keys. Thus, my prediction is Kamala Harris will be a precedent-breaking president of the United States, the first woman president in U.S. history.
All right. You heard Alan Lichtman say that, my professor at American University, and I'm going to agree with my professor. Kamala Harris will be the next president of these United States, number 47 in our community. Yes, she will be the next president of these United States. And I think it is demonstrative. It is something that is bound to happen. And we're now going to talk about why. And why do I think that it's going to happen? And why do I think, this is not even debatable? I'm calling it Black Uhuru. You can quote me on this. And there are 10 reasons. Now, Alan Lichtman always taught us at American U that there were 13 keys. I have 10. 10 reasons why Kamala Harris will win this election in November. First, her support is wide, and she's building it deeper. Yes, when Kamala Harris took over the lead of the Democratic Party ticket, I know a lot of people were like, I don't know. Let's be frank, Democrats. She was not the first choice of many people, yours included. I did not see a lot about Kamala Harris that gave me hope that she could enter a race in an unprecedented way, take over the top of the ticket, and beat somebody who had taken the lead at that time from Joe Biden, based a lot on that terrible debate where he came off as the crypt keeper and like somebody that could not only lead the nation, Not sure should be in charge of the cookies in the container in your kitchen. That's how bad that debate was. But I digress. There was nothing really in her background that suggested that I thought that she could take the lead and lead in that way. There were hints about we should have an open convention, that there were others who could. And let's be frank, there were thoughts that there was, friction between the vice president and the president's staff on some level. I don't think ever between the two of them, but between the staff, and there had been large staff turnover, and the people know enough about her? Could they introduce her to people, to America who had just seen her as vice president? Could they really see her as the leader of this party? Could a black woman win this race against somebody like Donald Trump, who has made this country more xenophobic, less hopeful, more or less worse than America might have looked at race when Barack Obama first ran? Indeed, could she even debate a Donald Trump better than Joe Biden had done? If you had watched Kamala Harris debate when she ran for president, she had that one shining moment where she attacked Joe Biden, and then she sort of fizzled when Tulsi Gabbard went at her the same way, and her campaign limped to the end of 2019. The campaign never even saw a caucus or a primary state. It was a terribly run campaign in 2019. You spend all that money, raise millions of dollars, and you don't even make it to Iowa in 2020. And her debate with Mike Pence, I think there could be an argument that Mike Pence beat her in the vice presidential debate if you look at the style and look at the substance of the matter. And so there was a lot of doubt. Since coming onto the ticket, Kamala Harris has taken the Democratic Party over by storm. Interest is up. Participation is up. Enthusiasm is up. She closed the enthusiasm gap, and it hasn't even been close since then. She has literally pulled even with Donald Trump and taken the lead in many polls. And I see the support is just wide. She's doing better with African Americans than Joe Biden did, almost hitting 2020 levels. She is doing better with Latinos at this point, though not necessarily at 2020 levels yet. She's doing way better, even better with women. She's doing better even with black women and other women of other hues. She's doing better with suburban white women. She's doing better than I think anybody could have hoped for. Now she's building it deeper. If you look at a lot of other things that we're going to talk about and some of the other 9 reasons why, she's just building it deeper and deeper, but the support she's received is wide. And I will say it's wider than Donald Trump's support at this time, because Donald Trump's support is MAGA, and he has not been able to move from 43 to 47% above that nadir, that 43 to 47%. He's not been able to move. His number is higher than that. Why? Because he has not tried to have a big tent. He has not tried to change and increase his coalition and add groups to it. He has doubled down on rhetoric and red meat dogma just for his base. And the base of either party can't win you an election in November. Harris's support is wider, and she's building it deeper as we speak than Donald Trump. The second reason why Kamala Harris will win this race in November is that she is winning independents. Now, if you watch my scenario, you've heard me talk about what each candidate needs to do to win this race. I have told you that both candidates, both parties, have 2 mountains, a mountain each, that they have to climb in order to win. What the Republicans have to do is Donald Trump has to win independents. Why? You've heard me say it over and over again, but I'm going to keep applying it like a salve to fix your wound that I can apply over and over again until you heal or until you get it into your brain to think about elections every time you hear coverage in the way that I'm going to tell you. You should look at it. Donald Trump cannot win in November unless he wins independent voters. And we have a lot of evidence that shows that. One is 2016. How did Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton? By the smallest of margins in the smallest number of battleground states. It's because he won independents. The problem that Donald Trump has had since 2016 is that he hasn't won independents in any race since then. In 2018 midterms, Republicans lose the Senate basically because during the midterm, Republicans are not winning independents. In 2020, did Donald Trump lose his re-election campaign to voter fraud? No. He lost because he did not win independence. And in 2018, in 2022, the red wave that was going to come and consume the Democrats in both houses of Congress, did that red wave ever materialize? No. You know why? Say it with me, choir, because Republicans lost independence for the third cycle. And in 2024, after that horrendous debate by Joe Biden, Donald Trump took the lead with independence. He was up by 9. But guess what, folks? He is losing with independence now. And I keep telling you, he's not doing anything to try to capture them back. Harris is winning independence, and that's the second reason why she'll win in November. And if you want to know, the hill that Harris must climb is that of turnout, which is the third reason why Kamala Harris will win in November. She is close to matching her 2020 turnout support levels, and that's what polls are showing. Now, as I told you, the mountain that Republicans and Donald Trump had to climb to win was to win independence in 2024. The mountain that Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the Democrats must climb to win in November is turnout. They must get the same turnout or damn close to it in 2024 that they got in 2020. You know how Joe Biden was able to beat Donald Trump? He got more votes than Donald Trump did in a record-setting year of voters. Donald Trump will tell you he got the most votes of any Republican in the history of American voting for the presidency, and he was right. Problem was, Joe Biden got the greatest number of votes in the history of American politics for a Democrat, and that was more than Donald Trump's numbers. They have to come close to that. And while she's not there yet, she is closer than Joe Biden was, a lot closer than Joe Biden is, and she has more pathways to grow. How do we know this? It's because Latinos are still not at that level, but she's surging up with that criteria. She's already winning independence. And I'll talk to you about the Republican vote that is out there for her to grow as well, because Donald Trump is not campaigning to them. He's not running a campaign that is attractive to them. And that's another pathway for her to grow her number to 50. If you look at the most recent polls, and you know how I feel about polling, I can leave it or take it. But the polls are good for showing trends. And what you're seeing is a small growth for her, where she's starting to poll above Donald Trump in terms of the margin of error in the 11 battleground states that I will tell you about later that you should be watching out for. Don't look at national polls. Look at the battleground polls. But she's starting to inch up slowly but surely, and that's a momentum that Donald Trump has not been able to counteract. The fourth reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is the economy is gaining momentum with less than 40 some odd days out. Yes, gas prices are going down. We had on my TikTok channel, we talked about it last night, that gas in certain places is now just $2.89, $2.50, where it was $5, $4 just a year ago, $3.89. It's now going down everywhere except California. California is just an anomaly in the averages here. But gas prices are going down. The feds are now knocking interest rates down. The stock market has now set records. You had comments from JP Morgan's Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, that we're not going into recession and that the economy is cooking. It's cooking, and it's cooking well. And I know what some Trump supporters will say who watch this content, right? You'll say, "But inflation is still high." Inflation is now back down to the 2021 levels of before of when we were starting to come out of COVID, out of the worldwide pandemic, and that's what you're starting to see now. And if you watch my content from 2 years ago, when I said there were 5 reasons why Donald Trump would never be president again, I said one of the reasons was that the economy was going to start to cook, was going to start to rebound in ways that people were going to start feeling it, and that was going to make the difference. The economy is gaining momentum, and so is Kamala Harris. The 5th reason why Kamala Harris will win in November is simple, is that she has better specific plans than Donald Trump. You know, Washington, when we talked about when Kamala Harris first became the nominee, literally 2 days after she became the nominee, the right started saying, well, where's her plan? What's she going to run on? I mean, she hasn't planned. It's been a week. It's been a week. Where's the plan? Where's the plan? And she slowly started unveiling her plan. Now, for all the doubters out there who want to say, well, she's been in office for 3.5 years. Why did she do all this stuff late, then? Why is she talking about plans? She could have done all this stuff then. No, she couldn't have. Because we were coming out of a worldwide pandemic. A worldwide pandemic where every industrialized nation on the face of God's earth has ultra high, uber high inflation. And America's inflation was devastating, but it was not nearly as bad as anybody else in terms of the industrialized nations around the world. And you don't do new programs when you're coming out of COVID. I tell you what you do. You do the American Rescue Plan. You do child care tax credit. You do infrastructure. You do capping medical prices. And you have to let interest rates go up because you have to try to gauge and move development and move economics so that the average person is going to be helped. Yes, the whole world has suffered inflation for 3.5 years. And so it is not one president or one party. It's all industrialized nations. And so, yes, the policies of the Biden-Harris administration was to combat COVID and to get this country back on its feet again. And it took 3.5 years to do it. And now we're able to move on, or at least she's proposing moving on to new ideas. And the ideas have been that she's put forward, whether it be the middle class tax cut that she wants to do. And she wants to pay for it by reversing the tax cut that the rich received that were not expired. Remember, Donald Trump gave everybody a tax cut, but the middle class and working class tax cut got expired to pay for the upper class tax cut. Well, she wants to bring that tax rate back to where it needs to be. Not take it back up to the 39% that it used to be at under Joe Biden, but she doesn't want to be at the 21% for the corporate tax rate. She wants the 28%. And with the dividends that she gets from that, it's actually going to pay for the middle class tax cut. She wants to give $6,000 to new parents so they can afford the things you need to start off a family. She wants to give $25,000 to new homeowners to help spur home ownership and create generational wealth, because home ownership is how you get there, right? She wants to make sure that she gives a $50,000 tax credit to entrepreneurs to find the next Steve Jobs out there who's working in his doggone, or her working in her doggone garage with the next new industry, the next new big bright idea. She wants to fund that. That's where the big ideas come from. They build off of what happened during COVID, and her plan is better than Donald Trump's plan. If you compare her plan from her website to Trump 47, I know you guys don't like us talking about Project 2025. We're not going to talk about it. But just from Trump's 2047 plan, it's a better plan. And Wharton economists prefer it. And so do most actual economics who don't have any dog in this race. Donald Trump never really says how he's going to pay for any of his stuff. And he can't get it through Congress because Republicans don't support the things he's talking about now, like these tariffs or making sure that we don't tax tips or we don't tax Social Security or Medicaid. It doesn't tell you how he's going to pay for it. And Republicans don't support any of those things. So it's doubtful whether he can get it through Congress. Again, Harris has the more realistic plan, the more pragmatic plan, and the plan that most people say will actually help the economy and help individuals in that economy a lot better than the Trump policies will. The sixth reason why Kamala Harris will win in November, yes, she's going to win in November because Trump is imploding. Trump is imploding. And I hate to say it that way. He's imploding. These Jewish remarks, the campaigning in New York when he should be in battleground states, is the length of time is too much to even go through. But he's imploding. And it's happening right before our eyes. Campaign, intel, Republican senators, advisors are telling him to stick to the issues they think can win this race, the economy and the border. And he can't help himself. And he took the bait 12 times in his debate with Kamala Harris by chasing the shiny new object instead of debating her on the issue. The implosion is going to cost him the election. The seventh reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is the Senate races in battleground states all are trending towards Harris and the Democrats. Listen, except for 2 states that I think are out of our range and out of our area to capture, all of the battleground states I'm talking about now, have Senate races that are in play. Even places like Texas and Florida where they should not be in play. And that shows a strength of the Democratic ticket. And it shows that there are legs to that race and legs to her campaign that will lead to Democratic victories in those states. But those are all about trends, about where voters are moving, that they're even voting for Democrats in battleground states for Senate and for House races as they consider voting for the top of the ticket. That's good news for Harris. That's bad news for Donald Trump. The eighth reason why Kamala Harris will win in November is that Republicans for Harris is real. Folks, I told you all, if you watch my content, that there will be a well-organized, well-financed campaign that of Republicans that would have Republicans speaking to other Republicans, not Democrats, Republicans speaking to other Republicans about this race. That you would have former Congress people who were Republicans endorsing Harris. That you would have former staffers to those Congress people, those Republican Congress people supporting Harris. That you would have, obviously, the Never Trumpers part of the Republican Party, but you are also going to have Republicans from the Trump administration, because 65% of people who work for Donald Trump don't believe he should be anywhere near 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, that they would be supporting him. And I talked about that you would have people who worked for former presidents and former former administrations, Republican administrations, that were going to come out and support Kamala Harris. And that is exactly what's happening. Republicans for Harris are talking to Republicans in Republican swing districts, in purple districts, and in battleground states. And that mining, that targeting of those votes are going to pay dividends for her come November going forward. The Cheneys have endorsed her. 700 high-ranking national security advisors have endorsed her. State directors of the Nikki Haley campaign in Michigan and Iowa and Vermont just this week have endorsed her. And there's more endorsements coming down the pike. So just stay tuned about more top Ronald Reagan mainstream conservative Republicans coming out and endorsing her and supporting her. The ninth reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is because polling is missing multiple indicators that will expand Harris's lead. If you watch me talk about polling, I would tell you that polling is based on models that happen in history, and they don't take in registration, new registrants that wouldn't meet their model. You know who has won the registration fight with new voters 5-1? Kamala Harris. Polling is not picking up new registrants. Polling is not picking up young people. Polling is not picking up people who are outside of the model from the last election. They're not picking up people who are going to expand her lead and lead her to win in those 11 battleground states, at least 7 of those 11 battleground states that we talked about. MAGA, and the 10th and last reason why Kamala Harris is going to win this race in November is simple. MAGA is being destroyed from within. MAGA is being destroyed from within. From Taylor Greene versus Laura Looper to the Mark Robinson fiasco in North Carolina, to RFK Jr. endorsing Donald Trump and being accused of having an affair, to Matt Gaetz charges resurfacing, to Congressman Comer's House committee hearing on Joe Biden in a desperate attempt to try and, sully Joe Biden, and then sully, I guess, by attacking Joe Biden, sullying the Harris campaign, to Fox News reporting just ridiculous things like criticizing that Tim Walsh knows how to fix an engine. He's not a real man, so how can somebody who's not a real man fix an engine? To them touting that Donald Trump somehow won the debate with Kamala Harris. to Lindsey Graham arguing that Nebraska needs to change its electoral college, how it votes, so that Donald Trump can get one more elector. It's smelling. It's stinking. It is. Yeah. Representative Wesley Hunt of Texas. It's reeking of desperation. And MAGA is really killing itself in the same way that the Tea Party killed itself. And I'll go on the left, the same way that Occupy Wall Street, killed itself. Movements built on anger and grievance and disenfranchisement and more anger and more grievances don't win elections, and they don't last. They have short lives, and they become memories and asterisks when we talk about what really moved elections and what really was consequential to determining the direction of a nation. And MAGA ain't it. And once Donald Trump loses in November, MAGA will go the way of the Tea Party, the way of the alt-right, and the way of Pat Buchanan, and the way of the religious right and Jerry Falwell from the 80s. It will be something we will talk about as a movement that had a good shelf life of 2 to 4 years and went back into oblivion. Now, I will say that the only caveat to Kamala Harris winning in November is that it's a race against the clock at this point. She's got to canvass her vote. She's got to bank her votes. She's got to keep her vote engaged. She's got to get her vote to use absentee ballots. She's got to get her vote to confirm registrations. She's got to get her vote to vote early. She's got to get her vote to the polls. She's got to get her legal team to win challenges to her vote before, during, and after the election in order to win this vote. But if she can, and I think that she will, Kamala Harris is not only going to win this election in November, she's going to win it handily. My final numbers nationwide is that Kamala Harris will win this election with 53% of the vote. You heard it here first. And Donald Trump will limp to the finish line with 46% of the vote. You heard it here first. That, in modern election terms, is a blowout race and as close to a landslide as we're going to get in the modern election era. I want to hear your comments about that. Last thing we're going to talk about is, and we ran out of time today, so we'll do the Senate and the House next week. But the last thing I want to talk about is being kind. In my commentary, my way. Folks, there's a lot of negative stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of negative content on TikTok. There's a lot of negativity because negativity gets clicks and likes. Controversy sells newspapers, as we used to say, when people actually used to read newspaper. Controversy and attacks and zeroing in on people is the way to get people to tune in. It's like watching a car accident. People know they shouldn't watch it, but they can't turn away from it. But I will tell you that there is a growing group of us, and I put myself in this group, in this crew, in this posse, of folks who are tired of being the dog who chases the shiny object, of being the content creator who is trying to find ways to get you to watch because I'm cracking on somebody or I'm belittling somebody. And there are more and more content creators who are creating things that show the best of people. Us at our best. Us helping our fellow man, our fellow woman, our brother, our sister. Content that celebrates the humanity in all of us and puts it out there so not only it can be seen, but that we can talk about it. So I want to be part of that clan. I want to be part of the people who do kindness and do things for people because it's the right thing to do and because the world needs more examples of that. I want to play you a couple of videos that kind of show and illustrate the point I'm trying to make here. Watch.
Start with to drink.
May I get a water, please, if you don't mind? Hey, brother. Could I actually ask you a huge favor? Can I ask you a huge favor? I'm really sorry to ask. So, you know, Mother's Day is coming up in like a week and a half, right? My girlfriend and I got into like a massive fight, and she took my wallet and my phone and threw it into like the lake in our neighborhood. Yeah. Is there any possibility of getting like a pancake or two for free? I just don't really have anything to.
My manager's here. Let me ask her real quick.
Okay.
Because I don't want to say yeah and jump for it.
Yeah, thank you. Doesn't have to be like a full meal, but just.
You were asking about pancakes or something?
I overspent on Mother's Day and wasn't accounting for rent as well. So I'm low. I have like, I don't know, maybe $1 in coins. Is there any possibility to get like a pancake? Pancake?
No, we can't.
No.
Do that. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thanks,
No problem.
Just,
You know what, darling?
yeah.
I'll take care of you. So let me show you.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry about that.
It's embarrassing. I know. I mean, the universe is just off, right?
Maybe if I just do like two pancakes.
Okay, just a
that'd be
stack of pancakes?
Yeah, that'd be
That works.
awesome. Thank you
Okay,
so much. What's your
all
name?
right.
Charlie?
Uh-huh.
Steven. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And
Your eyes are great.
So are
They remind
yours.
me of my grandson.
really,
Yeah.
can I just tell you that I feel like you meet the right people at the right time.
I have the poem that I wrote. It's the people along the way that make you stronger.
And I just want to say I appreciate you so much for being so empathetic and sympathetic. And
Just made my day.
well, I want to give you this. So
Holy cow!
I appreciate you so much. And literally, people who are kind deserve to have good things.
Cancer. That's what I'm doing here. Can you tell my boss?
Of course.
Because I'm not
No.
even a server.
I appreciate you so much. Seriously. You're seriously incredible. And the fact that you were just gonna give that to me out of the kindness of your own heart. Steven, nice to meet you. I just want to let you know that Charlie is absolutely incredible. I came in and I told her that, you know, I wasn't able to pay for the meal, and she was so kind and just, you know, offered to give this to me. So she
I want to share this with my family because this guy
course.
has helped me out so much. So
absolutely,
Thank you.
of course. No, I really appreciate
I
you.
just got back from my son. My grandson was in a bicycle wreck. So
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you so much.
Of course, it's my absolute pleasure. What I do, so I actually make videos.
I see that.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so, just showing that it's really being kind and empathetic with people is just the way of life. She's incredible.
Thank you.
Of course.
So this is an example of the content that is out there. And I'm sure some of you have been on TikTok and you've seen people who, you know, give homeless people, homeless people give, they have $2, they give a guy who's asking for $1, and these content creators, give them 500, give them 1,000, do a campaign to get them houses, to get them, homes and vehicles. It's almost like the pay it forward thing, and it's interesting to see when these people get these dollars, $1,000, a homeless person, they always want to give it to somebody else. It's two things I've noticed: they want to give it to somebody else, or a portion of it to somebody else, or they break down and go, nobody sees me, nobody ever gives me a kind word. I'm homeless, and people just walk by me, they just ignore me, they just don't even acknowledge me. And just to have human contact, to have human conversation, much less the money, it means something. And I think it does something to our better natures and our better angels when we see it visually on platforms like YouTube, like TikTok, like Instagram. So we're going to start putting those kind of videos up here. We're going to start remarking about those videos. We're going to start talking about how we can be more kind to each other. We're going to be talking about examples of kindness. with this segment, My Commentary My Way. But there's some things that you can do right away that I think will make you feel a lot better. One is, if you have the means, take $30 of cash per week. Get singles. Get about 20 singles, 2 fives, in your pocket. And give $1 to anyone that asks. Anyone. If you think somebody's going to take it and use it for drugs, or you think it's going to use it for alcohol, don't consider why they're asking. Give it to them. Give them the $1 and say, God bless you, or Allah bless you, or whatever you believe in. Or if you don't believe in anything, just say, have a good day. Second thing is, buy gas for someone once a week. If you're buying gas for yourself, if you have enough, and again, this is if you have the means, buy gas for somebody this week. If you're at a gas station and you're buying gas, if you see somebody you think you might want to help, buy a tank of gas for somebody once a week. Third thing you can do, give 3 people you don't know a compliment. You look nice today. Wow, it's a great car. Hey, nice smile. Hey, I just want to say, man, God bless you. Hey, sister, all right. I see you wearing that, all right? Look great. Have a good day. Just try it. And the fourth thing, wear a positive shirt once a week. I used to, and I still do, I wear a shirt that has "Be kind" on the front, and on the back it says, because you don't ever know what somebody is going through. And I get so many comments from that shirt. And I'll tell you in other portions, other videos that we do about what people say when you show up with that kind of shirt. There's another shirt that I wear. It just says "Believe." I have another shirt that says "Faith." You'll be surprised by what they say. So do kindness and be good to one another. Last thing I say before we wrap up is in the spirit of being kind, in the spirit of giving grace, in the spirit of recognizing our own faults and our own foibles and our own shortcomings, I just want to talk about really quickly, 2 minutes. Have a little respect for elected officials. And I know, speaking as a former one, the overwhelming majority of elected officials are not crooks, are not scammers, are not people out here. I know my good friend Black Uhuru here just talked about Eric Adams has just been indicted. The overwhelming majority of elected officials are not Eric Adams. They're not people who go to jail. They're the biggest examples you see and you hear. You go, see, there's another one, right? There are hundreds of thousands of elected officials, many of which serve and give and never ask for anything. And we get criticized and beat up and automatically just, you're corrupt. You don't do anything. You never done anything. Most elected officials that I know are not politicians. They're public servants and they're human. Right? And they get up early, they go to bed late. And I'm talking from personal experience here. They work on weekends. They don't call their families or spend time with their families because they're doing the work of the community. They don't keep up with friends. Like Uhuru's on here, is one of my good fraternity brothers. He knows we don't get back to people that are important to us that we should, because we're doing the people's business. Most of us don't eat well, gain weight, are in bad health, have bouts of needing bed rest for exhaustion at times. All the wake up the next day and get more complaints that we fix and that we actually do. They help more people than you recognize on a daily basis. They provide things to people in the same way. I'm always reminded that are thankless. I'm always reminded of an elected official or a public servant. I think about the Bible when Jesus went and healed people and only one leper came back to say thank you, right? But Jesus didn't do it because he wanted all the lepers to say thank you. He did it because he wanted to, because it was the right thing to do. And a lot of public officials, a lot of public servants do it every single day. And all they get are people saying, you're not doing enough. And what's interesting is that the naysayers and those who beat up on these elected officials will fight them, curse them, and then when they're out and there's another set of politicians in there, they will do the same thing to them. And it goes on and on and on and on, and it continues and continues and continues and continues, because no one's ever going to be happy with all that a politician does, nor should you be. But the same grace you give your own child when they make a mistake, or your relative who doesn't always get it right, have a little grace for people who sacrifice a lot to represent you and to try to bring some goods and services your way and try to legislate policies and administrate policies to make it a better life for you. And they oftentimes do, even if it's you don't recognize it, don't see it in legislation, or don't see it in your anecdotal lifestyle or your personal life or your personal circumstances. They do make a difference. And they ought to be applauded for that. I applaud them for that. I wish more people had applauded me for the things that I tried to do, whether I was successful or not, just for the effort. I was blessed to have a lot of constituents who did appreciate what I did for them, who still come in contact with me and reach out to me, and I appreciate that. But it needs to happen to more people. So in that same vein, let me give a little grace and a little shout out to an elected official who is newly minted in Congress, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, former Newark Municipal Council President, former councilwoman of the great city of Newark, Central Ward Councilwoman. We wish you all the luck and all the best faith and all the blessing as you take on a daunting task to represent people in Congress as you try to represent them from the city council and the city of Newark. And in the spirit of grace and kindness, let me wish you the best, because the better you do, the better your constituents will do, and the better their families will have it in these great United States. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Sorry if I went a little long on the soapbox, but I appreciate you being here. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment below. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. We go live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be there, be square, stay curious, and remember, think it ain't illegal yet. And I'm out.